Hello, BookTube. This is the A to Z Bookish Survey Tag. It was originally created by Perpetual Page Turner, and I was tagged by Ernestly Eston. And it's a bit of a doozy. There's A to Z, so we know we have 26 letters in the alphabet, and this one does every one of them. So you'll notice there's a cut in the middle because I'm going to have to edit just so I can run down and around the house to get examples of books throughout. And so I've started it. So number one, A, is for an author you've read the most. This was tough. I'm not a Goodreads guy. I did make an account, but it's not very useful for me. So I'm taking a wild guess, trying to think through this logically. I think it's probably Bernard Cornwell. And it may be close with some other writers, but it's because Cornwell, I've read several of his series, good way through his Saxon Tales, and I read the Sharp books, and I've read some of his others. So I started with Sharp, so here's a nice old copy of a Sharp Sword. And that was Bernard Cornwell, the Viking Press, New York. This was his fourth book. This is Richard Sharp in the Salamanca campaign, June and July 1812. And this came out in '83, and this is the first U.S. edition. Sharp series was a TV show with Sean Bean, and then there's now one on the Saxon Tales, which I have not watched. I'll watch the Saxon Tales once I finish with the books. I've read 4, and I own 9 of them. There's 10 out now that I'm aware of. B is for best sequel ever, and for that, I'm a big fan of Michael Moorcock's Elric saga. Let me see if we can get a little less. And I've got them in a 5-volume set of books, and each of them have multiple novels in them. So Eric of Melnibone was the first, and then the sequel, The Sailor on the Seas of Fate, which is a wonderful book. I don't know what to say about these. This is Nelson Doubleday. It's a science fiction book club compilation. So, it is the color of a bleached skull, his flesh, and the long hair which flows below his shoulders is milk white. From the tapering, beautiful head stare 2 slanting eyes, crimson and moody, and from loose sleeves of his yellow gown emerge 2 slender hands, also the color of bone, resting on each arm of a seat which has been carved from a single massive ruby. He is Elric, Emperor of Melnibone, cursed with a keen and cynical intelligence, schooled in the art of sorcery, the hero of Michael Moorcock's remarkable epic of conflict and adventure at the dawn of human history. I love these things. They're really fun. C is for currently reading, and I mentioned this before. I'm currently reading David Weber's War and Honor, an Honor Harrington novel, Bean Books, a series I really enjoy. D is for drink of choice when reading. Well, I drink tea occasionally and water. At night, a lot of times I'll have myself one of my favorite New England beverages. Boston Lager, Sam Adams. A lot of times I don't drink anything when I'm reading. So, E is for ebook or physical books, not even close with me. Physical book. I like paperbacks. I like large trade paperbacks. I like hardbound. I think if I had a scroll, I'd probably prefer that over an ebook. The only times that I really enjoy ebooks are when I'm traveling. And then I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff with me. But I find the screens bother me, and the choices of volumes available drives me a little crazy. But they have their place. F is for fictional character you probably have dated in high school. Well, I get to make this up for myself, so she probably wouldn't have dated me in high school. But I would have dated Hermione. Because to me, she's the best character in the whole series by far. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, J.K. Rowling. So I thought Hermione was awesome. G is for glad you gave this book a chance. And that was because I wasn't really interested at first. Laurie R. King, The More. And I ended up really getting into her Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes stories. And I'm glad I got talked into reading this. If you haven't read them, they're wonderful mysteries. In recreating Sherlock Holmes in previous books as an adjunct to her chief protagonist, Mary Russell, King has set the couple's adventures in a milieu consistent with her own creation, and although true to the place and period, independent of Conan Doyle's work. So in this one, Holmes has been invited by his old friend, the Reverend Baring Gould, to look into not only an unexplained death on the moor, but more important, in the ancient cleric's mind, sightings of a phantom coach on the moor, possibly inhabited by a phantom noblewoman. So it's a Sherlock Holmes story. And once I got into the first one, these Mary Russell and Sherlock Holmes books, I think they're fantastic. I love them. H is for hidden gem of a book. And that's this. It's Arturo Perez Reverte. And it's the nautical chart. And he's written some wonderful books, but this novel is excellent. Translated from the Spanish by Margaret Sayers Peden, Harcourt Incorporated, New York, and this is from the year 2000. Coy is a suspended sailor with time on his hands, a seaman without a ship. At an auction in Barcelona, he meets a beautiful woman who immediately captures his imagination. Tanger Soto is obsessed with the De Gloria, a Jesuit ship sunk by pirates in the 17th century, and now, she hopes, resting on the bottom of the sea off the southern coast of Spain. Using her expertise with documents, atlases, and nautical maps, as well as her subtle manipulative skills with men, she charts the search for lost treasure. Coy is quickly drawn into the adventure, and before long, he finds himself falling in love. Along with El Pelito, the world-wise old man of the sea, whose ship will carry this enterprising crew, they seek their fortune together. Or do they? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book. Great adventure, marvelous thriller. So Arturo Perez Reverte, The Nautical Chart. I is for important moment in your reading life. I think that there's been many. I think the one stands out was a summer where I read Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and most importantly by Robert Louis Stevenson, Kidnapped. And then I discovered a series of books called, I think it was called The Three Investigators. It was an Alfred Hitchcock series. And over that summer, I lived in a little teeny farm in Vermont. Over that summer, I was filled with so much adventure that the bug really bit me to become a lifelong reader. So a lot of adventure and a lot of great stuff. Especially Kidnapped, I think, probably is one I'd put to the top. But they were all wonderful, each in their own way. And J is for Just Finished. And that is Leonard, My 50-Year Friendship with a Remarkable Man by William Shatner with David Fisher. A book that was a little unsettling, especially to some of my preconceived notions. I've always been a Spock fan, and still am. This doesn't make me less, and it's not intended to. But the Shatner-Nimoy relationship, and then the demands on the Hollywood life, and all the stresses that they all go through, and then a very poignant, sort of sad ending. It adds a depth to the appreciation of just what these types of characters go through in life and on this stage, screen, whatever. So, a book I'd recommend. All right, let's keep this marathon going. So, number 11. K is for kinds of books you won't read. I don't care about business books. I don't care about self-help books. Doesn't mean I would never read them, but for the most part I don't. L is for longest book you've read. Here I couldn't figure out between two different ones. The first, these are my old copies. We have the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is technically one book that the publisher split up. And it's quite a long book. I don't know what the total pages would be. It matters on the format, I guess. And the other one is this bruiser, Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. My edition has all 5 volumes in one volume. So that's the opposite problem, where they tend to be 5 different volumes or one book, or they're meant to be one book. It's a novel, in translation by LaSalle Roxelle, authorized by the author, printed with a new introduction by Andre Moreau, and the illustration by Len Moore, New York Heritage Press. The problem is when they did this volume, they broke the pagination up by the book. So look at this, and they're telling me I'm on page 265. Well, I'm not. I'm on, because I'm on 153 there. You see what I mean? So I don't know between these two, J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings or Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. So they would probably be the longest. M is for major book hangover because. Well, I'm going to go with the because I couldn't get it out of my mind. And that was Umberto Eco's The Name of the Rose. The one I have here has lovely end papers with the monastery. There's Umberto Eco. I'm a big fan of his. And not just his fiction. I like reading a lot of his stuff. Here's like The Fifth Day. Isn't that beautiful? So it's a story I couldn't get out of my mind. And very, very much enjoyed. N is for number of bookcases you own. I just counted them. There's 20. O is for one book you've read multiple times. And that is this Louis L'Amour. And it is my favorite, one of my favorite of his, called The Walking Drum. And it takes place in medieval Europe. It's an adventure story, and it's not his typical Western. It was originally, this is a Bantam publishing. So the maps are copyrighted in '84 by Bantam Books, and this hardcover edition is from June of '84, excuse me. Louis L'Amour hardcover collection, June of '85. So wonderful, wonderful historical adventure, and the type I think he would have written more of if he'd been able to. I mean, his publishers were probably pretty encouraging about the westerns, but this book was great. P is for the preferred place to read, right where you see me. I have plenty of light. It's my own little space. I can close the door over there if I need to. So that would be this little reading nook type room. Q is for a quote that inspired you from a book that you've read. And it's going to seem odd. I remember reading, the first time I read Dune. There's an old paperback Dune. The one looks a little different than it did in the movies in my edition here. But this is Ace Books. And this was 1965. Book 1, we start with these little chapter heading quotes, which I love. A beginning is a time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. This every sister of the Bene Gesserit knows. To begin your study of the life of Muad'Dib, then take care that you first place him in his time. Born in the 57th year of the Padishah Emperor, Shaddam IV. And take the most special care that you locate Muad'Dib in his place, the planet Arrakis. Do not be deceived by the fact that he was born on Caladan and lived there for his first 15 years. Arrakis, The planet known as Dune is forever his place. From Manuel Muad'Dib by the Princess Erlen. And it just fired me up. Boy, I really got into that. That was great fun. R is for reading regret. I don't know if I have any reading regrets. Can't possibly imagine what it would be. I think if I regret anything about my reading is that I don't have a second or third or fourth language. I think that really limits how much of the world I can enjoy, and that would be it. S is for a series that you've started that you need to go back to, and all the books are out now, and that would be. And I did this on purpose. I'm reading the second in the Patrick O'Brien's Aubrey Maturin series, Post Captain. I'm getting there, almost done. I'm enjoying it very much. This is my relaxing when I don't have anything else going on. I just want to slip away to the Napoleonic era. These are wonderful thus far. And T is for 3 of your all-time favorite books. And we'll do this rather quick. So this is going to be the world's longest video. The first is Hermann Hesse, Narcissus and Goldman. The second is Mark Halperin's A Winter's Tale. Love this book. And then the third would be T.H. White, The Once and Future King. So there you go. Okay, and continuing right along, U is unapologetic fanboy for, in my case, it would be the Amber novels. Here we have the Chronicles of Amber, Volume 1 by Roger Zelazny, which contains 9 Princes in Amber and Guns of Avalon. Then I have Chronicles of Amber Volume 2 by Roger Zelazny. These old science fiction book club editions. And this includes Sign of the Unicorn, The Hand of Oberon, and Courts of Chaos. And then Prince of Chaos, the new Amber novel, which isn't new anymore. There's Zelazny. I love these books. I don't know if you hear much about them anymore. Amber is the one real world, casting infinite reflections of itself. Shadow worlds that can be manipulated by those of royal Amberite blood. Unfortunately, the royal family is torn by jealousies and suspicions. And the disappearance of the clan patriarch Oberon has intensified the conflicts by leaving Amber's throne apparently up for grabs. The chronicles begin in a hospital in the Shadow Earth, where a man is recovering from a freak auto accident. I love these books. They're great fantasy. No, I think they're great. V is for very excited for this release. I know that Bernard Cornwell has a new historical novel coming up. It's not in the Saxon's Tales, and it's not the old Sharp series. My understanding, it is the brother of William Shakespeare, and had something to do with the staging of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I'd love to see that. When it comes out, I'll probably try to grab that. W is for worst bookish habit. I have books everywhere with bookmarks in them. I'm constantly walking by, picking one up, going through some. Some I finish right off. Some I may take a year to finish. You know, I pick them up and I start right where I was at. It doesn't bother me, but it drives everybody around me nuts. So X is for X marks the spot. Top left bookshelf, 27th book. Well, I have 20 bookshelves, so just go to the closest one here, I guess. Top left and the 27th book. Well, let's go find out what it is. Let me see here. So go here. So I got a big pile here, and then here. So let me start with, I'm probably making you seasick. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So, the 27th book, oh, sorry if I get everybody, that was sort of something I should have planned better. The Complete Guide to Middle-earth from the Hobbit to the Silmarillion. So obviously a lot's been published since then by Christopher Tolkien. By Robert Foster, excuse me. Del Rey book, Valentine's Book, New York. When did this thing come out? This came out in 1971, and my edition's from 78. There you go. Let's see an example. Finglass, one of the 3 eldest Ents. So it's just like a little guide to Middle Earth. That's interesting. I haven't picked that one up in a while, so this was good for something, right? Y is for latest book purchase. Well, I did a book haul yesterday, so that would, one of them would be The Broken Road from the Iron Gates to Mount Athos by Patrick Leigh Fermor. I'm actually looking forward to reading all 3 books in the trilogy of travel writing. And Z is for the Z Snatcher that kept you up way late. It happens to me all the time. Let me see if I've got something close by. Yeah, I would say this Honor Harrington. I was up late the other night reading it. Honor of War, a Bean book. So that was the A to Z Bookish Survey Tag, and it's a doozy. I had to split this up a little bit. I'm not going to tag anybody. If anybody wants to do the tag, please do. I'd love to find out if you did it and watch it. And it was fun. So thank you, BookTube.